Hello, my amazing learners, and welcome back to the Wisdom English podcast. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to talk about a challenge that so many English learners face. Do you feel like you're not making progress with your spoken English, like you're stuck? You can understand a lot, but when you try to speak, it just doesn't come out right. If you can think in English and stop translating in your head, then you can answer questions more fluently and participate in conversations more easily. Today, I'm going to give you 7 smart ways to start thinking in English to help you get unstuck and become a more confident English speaker. And make sure you stay with me until the very end, because I'll reveal the simple secret that makes all of these other strategies truly effective. Now, talking about thinking in English, it's a real challenge for some students, right? And I think this is because in many schools across the world, students are taught with what we call the grammar translation method. We're taught to translate everything. When I was learning Chinese, my teacher would say, "Okay, Sarah, to say hello in Chinese, you say, 你好," and so on. And it seems natural and logical at a beginner level. You're translating to learn the language. However, the problem is that this becomes a habit that is very, very hard to break as you move up the levels. But it's essential that you break this habit, because otherwise, you're not going to build up the fluency you need. When you can start thinking in English, then you can really answer questions more easily. So, let's begin with the first step to thinking in English. You have to surround yourself with English. Now, that does not mean you have to go and live or visit an English-speaking country. Although that's great if you can, you don't have to. No, you can do this in your own home by giving yourself even just 10 minutes a day of English. You can build up to 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, building up slowly. And it's important to see this English time as fun and enjoyable, not as study time. I'm talking about things like listening to podcasts, listening to internet radio, listening to songs, reading some books, novels, magazines, or blogs about things that you like. Maybe watching TV series or films in English. But having this moment when you are surrounded by English is key. And during this moment, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can just listen passively. That's fine. Secondly, you can repeat words that you hear or see. And third, you can repeat phrases that you hear or see. Now, listening passively is great because when you listen passively, you're reducing the stress and the pressure. And we know from research that this can help us learn more deeply. Repeating words and phrases is also fantastic because then you're starting to activate the vocabulary, which means you can start to use it more fluently. So, I wouldn't say you need to create a whole English environment because that sounds very big and very difficult. It's very hard to have an English environment in your home. I prefer to call it creating English moments. By creating these English moments, maybe for 10 or 20 minutes, what you're doing is you're enabling yourself to start thinking in English because you're surrounded by it for that moment. The next tip is to only use words that you already know. So, when you're speaking in English, sometimes you want to express an idea, but you lack the vocabulary. So, you might go to a dictionary and look up the word, or you might ask somebody for the translation. Now, that's great for building your vocabulary, yes, but it is not good for your fluency. A great way to improve your fluency and to start thinking in English is to only use the words you already know when you're speaking. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, "Hang on, Sarah, come on, that's too simple. I'm just going to be speaking simple English." Yes, and that is the beauty of it. It's simple. And because it's simple, you can focus 100% on your fluency because you're not translating. And so, you're starting to think in English. Now, if you come across an idea you want to express but you lack the vocabulary, there are two things you can do. Number one, you can either try to find a way around it, to say it in another way. You can paraphrase it. This is an essential skill for English speaking. Or, number two, you can let the idea go. Say something else. Stay with the words that you know. Trust me, I've done this with Spanish. I've even dreamt, not only thought in Chinese, but I've dreamt in Chinese. This is a game changer. Try this one out. It seems strange, but try it. I think you'll like it. The next one is to start small and build up. So, it's probably very hard to try and think in English the whole day long, right? That's not easy at all. So don't think big. Start small. Just start by even thinking single words in English. And remember to always use words that you already know. So, a common technique is to look at a picture, and as you look at the picture, you think of the things that you see. Try this. Have a look at this picture of a yoga class. Just don't speak. Just think one word of the different things you can see. Great! Now, you probably all thought of different things, right? I was thinking yoga, plants, t-shirt, lights, mat. Those are the things that I thought of. This is a great and simple activity, right? You can do this anywhere. You can just do it for a few minutes when you're waiting in line, if you're queuing in the bank or commuting on a train. You can use a picture, but probably more natural is just to look around you and describe the things that you see in your head. So, you're queuing in the bank, and you look around and you think, bank, queue, security guard, gun, lights, camera, noisy, and so on. It's just going on in your head. Remember, with words that you already know. The secret is to do this as a daily habit, right? Even just for a minute, but to do it every day. You're starting small. There's a famous book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you haven't read it, go and check it out. It's all about building up small habits every day. And the second thing is to start small and build up. So in my previous example, we started with individual words, right? But then you can move up to collocations, which are 2 or 3 words that naturally go together, or chunks or phrases. So when we look at the yoga situation again, you might think yoga mat, blue t-shirt, bright lights, indoor plants. You're thinking, right? Not saying, but you're thinking these. And then you can build up and you can start making phrases. Oh, there's a yoga mat. She's wearing a blue t-shirt. Those indoor plants are nice. So you can see, you're starting small and building up with this daily habit of thinking in English. Next up is to talk to yourself. So, in the last activity, we were focusing on just thinking those words and phrases in your head. Now, we're going to extend that to actually talking to yourself, saying the words out loud. Again, the goal is not to build vocabulary, the goal is to work on your fluency. The reason for this is, as the Russian psychologist and educator Lev Vygotsky said, the inner voice you're thinking comes from the internalization of your outer voice you're speaking. If you think about it, that inner voice in your head, it's the same voice as when you speak. The only difference is your muscles. You're not using these speaking muscles. So this cycle of thinking, speaking, through practice, we can reinforce it and help us to think more in English. Now, we're not engaging with other people here, right? It's just talking to yourself. So maybe as you're walking down the street, you think, "Ooh, silly hat," and then you say it out loud quietly to yourself, "That's a silly hat." Or, "What a lovely day. I love the sun." Or, "Ooh, I'm getting hungry." You're saying little snippets, little phrases to yourself, and reinforcing that thought in English. Some simple activities you can do here, and you may want to do these at home if you're not comfortable speaking out loud in the street. To be honest, nowadays, lots of people talk to themselves in the street. They might be on the phone, or they might just be talking. But if you're not comfortable talking to yourself outdoors, just do these at home. For example, in the morning you could talk about your routine for the day or your plan for the day. "Oh, today I'm going to go shopping. I've got to pick up some vegetables." You can describe an activity you're doing, for example, "I'm cooking, so I need 2 eggs. I need a bit more flour, more salt." Or you can just review what you've done today. "So today was a good day. In the morning, I did this and that." And so you can do simple things where you're actually just talking to yourself and reinforcing this thinking as well. Next is to write in English. So when it comes to thinking in English, I think the active skill of writing complements the active skill of speaking in helping you create this English environment, or what I called English moments, throughout your day that will help you think in English. Now, of course, the way that we speak and write are very different, and I do not encourage you to speak the way you write. They are 2 separate forms of communication. However, there is some research that suggests that writing and speaking are connected and actually influence each other. So I think by writing things in English, we can also help ourselves start thinking in English. Remember, only use the words that you know, and start small and build up, as before. Some simple activities could be writing your shopping list in English, leaving a message for your family like, "Pick up John at 6 o'clock," or putting a post-it note on your computer that says, "Remember to email Udemy." And then you can build up. Maybe then you can write a diary in English, or a blog post, or a complete blog in English. But all of these are creating moments of English that are going to help you start thinking in English. Now, listen, we have an expression in English which is, "The proof is in the pudding," which means you can say the pudding or the dessert is delicious, but only when you taste it do you truly know if it's delicious. The proof is in the pudding. So only when you do something can you know if it really works. So far, we've been looking at thinking in English to yourself, talking to yourself, writing notes to yourself. It's all about you. The next step is to practice with others, because you need to be able to think in English when you're communicating with other people as well. So I think it's really important to practice speaking with others, and as you're doing that, to practice this thinking in English as you're doing it. In fact, the more you engage in conversations in English with your teacher, with your friends, with your students, with your colleagues, the more you're going to have the chance to practice thinking in English as well. And when you're practicing, have some conversations where you just focus on thinking in English. Keep it simple. Use the words that you know. Have simple conversations. You may want to tell the other person that you're actually practicing thinking in English so that they have patience with you. And have specific conversations just focusing on that. Try it out and see. My next and final tip is to be monolingual. Let me explain. So one of the biggest game changers for me when I was learning French, in particular, was to move from using a bilingual dictionary, so French-English, to using a monolingual dictionary, which was French-French. So when I went to look up a word in French, it didn't translate to English. It gave me a definition in French. This was mind-blowing, a game changer. Absolutely brilliant. This was a critical step because it forced me to start thinking in French. Yes, it was more difficult. Yes, it took more time. It was an effort. But really, the change over several months was huge. Now, another expression we have in English is, there's no such thing as a free lunch, which means that you have to pay, you have to put in some effort to get some benefit. So, like using the monolingual dictionary, it's hard, it takes effort, but by paying with that time and effort, you get the benefit and you get big, big rewards. So, you won't make the change or the transformation from thinking in your native tongue to thinking in English overnight. It just won't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes effort. But the rewards are huge. And I think using a monolingual dictionary is a great way to do it. The final secret. So listen, those are my tips to help you improve your English speaking skills by learning to think in English. We've looked at how to learn speaking by listening, how to automate your vocabulary, how to increase your fluency with chunks, how to gain confidence by pushing your comfort zone, and how to use the right tools and immerse yourself in English. Remember, these are tips, but it needs day-to-day practice. Be patient, but be persistent. Keep practicing day after day. That's what it's really all about. And now, for the secret I promised at the beginning, the single most important secret that ties all of these strategies together is this. You don't have to choose just one. The real magic happens when you start to combine these techniques. For example, you can practice talking to yourself. Tip 4. About what you see around you. Tip 3. Using only words you know. Tip 2. After having listened to an English podcast, Tip 1. When you start to layer these habits on top of each other, you create a powerful system for learning that feels natural and becomes a part of your daily life. So, my challenge to you is this. This week, I want you to try to combine at least 2 of these tips. Maybe you can write your shopping list in English, Tip 5, and then talk to yourself as you walk through the supermarket, describing what you see. Tip 4. Find a creative way to combine these habits. Then come back to this video and tell us in the comments what you tried. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Wisdom English podcast channel to watch our next videos.